hello, beautiful people. It is Friday night, and tonight I'll be talking to Amy. She is the founder of the Mental Health Gala. Today would have been the fourth annual gala, so I'm sure it's a little bit of an emotional day for her. I'm just going to wait for her to come in. Thanks for joining, guys. Hi, Marty. How are ya? How's everyone doing? Hopefully she gets here soon. I know she was wrapping up a Zoom call with some of the speakers that she would have had tonight presenting at the gala. So it's really unfortunate that this had gotten ripped away from her. Hoping that she is still in good spirits. We'll wait for her to join us. Hopefully everyone's not going stir crazy with all this COVID business. It's always so awkward when I'm talking to myself. I just get the sense of like, oh, thanks, someone's answering my questions. I'm good. How are you? I'm swell. How you doing? How's everyone doing? Again, awkward silence when it's just me, myself, and I. I usually just ramble about nothing until my guest joins in. Hopefully, again, she'll be here soon. It's always this, and maybe tonight's a good night to mention this. It's always a little sense of, anxiety when you're coming on live and people see you and all your, quirks, and you just get this rush of like, oh God, how am I going to be perceived? So she saved me and she's here now. I'm going to welcome her in. Thank you, ladies. You're all beautiful. I wish I could see your faces. Amy will be joining us in just a second. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Good. You look so pretty. You're all dolled up.
First time in 2 months, just for the gala night.
Aw. How are you feeling?
I'm okay. It's been an emotional day, but everyone around me has been amazing. I've gotten flowers sent to me, my meal from Salas and Marco. Like, everyone's just been super supportive today, so it's nice.
Oh, that's awesome. So Amy, today would have been the fourth annual gala.
Yes.
What led you to start doing these galas? How did you sort of get here?
Well, in 2017, it was actually Bell Let's Talk Day. I was online and I was just seeing everybody posting about, what they were going through. And I noticed people that I talked to on a regular basis, I didn't even know that they had anything going on. And seeing them open up about it, I decided to kind of post my first little thing, just supporting people with mental health issues. And then from there, I just wanted to help people with issues. And I reached out to my friends at Salas and Marco, and they were the ones that were like, you know what, like, why not? I'm a party planner at heart. I love social events. A gala was just up my alley. So I was like, I don't know if anybody's going to come. I want it in May, because that's Mental Health Awareness Month. And they're like, hey, we got 6 weeks. Let's see what we can do. So the first year, there was about 130 people in attendance within 6 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, it was good.
And throughout the gala, you have guest speakers. Where do you find your guest speakers? How do you go about picking the people you want to present?
So usually, I do split my donations between the Royal Ottawa Hospital and Do It for Darren, which is actually under the Royal Ottawa, so it's super helpful and convenient. I wanted to split my funds between, adult care as well as youth care. So that's how I came about that decision. They've been super helpful and supportive. So they get me my volunteers for the night of, they get me my speakers. They have many events. So the, top person of that year is usually the one that speaks at my gala. This year, actually, I reached out to my 2 speakers that I wanted there. So one is Sabrina LeMay and one is Robin Ferry. I actually saw them on a Rogers interview, and they were talking about mental health and just their own struggles and how they were partnering up to spread the word and help end the stigma. And I reached out to them, and yeah, we had a coffee chat, and I asked them on the spot, I'm like, please come talk at my gala. You guys are amazing.
Oh, wow. Now, with everything being canceled, were you able to sort of push your venue to a later date? Are you rescheduling it all, or was it just completely wiped out of the books?
So I had that option to postpone, but with the uncertainty of what's going on right now, I was kind of nervous to do that. I didn't want to postpone till later in the summer. I didn't want to postpone till fall, mainly because I'm also on another committee for breast cancer, and October is breast cancer month. And you know, if I did it in the fall in October, for example, or November, my next one I still wanted it to be in May because of Mental Health Month. So I didn't want it to be too close together. So I just decided, you know what, this year I'll cancel it, make it bigger and better next year. And in the meantime, we could do smaller fundraisers maybe throughout the year. There might be something different coming up in the fall. I did an online fundraiser, an online auction to raise some money for the hospital. Now is the time that they need it the most. So I figured anything is better than nothing. And any way I can help and support my goal.
It's amazing, and I really admire that, especially, I know you mentioned to me you're Italian, right?
I am.
So I know that in certain cultures, mental health can be more stigmatized than in others. Do
Mm-hmm.
you feel like in your culture it is a little more heavily stigmatized, or?
I don't know if it's culture versus, you know, the family life that you have. I come from a very old-fashioned, my parents are off the boat straight from Italy from when they were young. I think that was I mean, for my family, I found it very hard to come out saying that, you know, there was an issue. It took me a while. It took me probably 5 years to say that, you know, and it wasn't, when I started my gala, it wasn't even like, so I have this and I want to raise money. I was very nervous to talk about it and to see their reaction. So it was more like, you know, I'm raising money for the hospital because of, you know, family members, friends that have a mental illness, and I just want to do good. So that's how I kind of eased them into it. And they were a little like concerned at the beginning, you know, what are people going to think? My daughter is talking about mental health, like, but now it's become a thing that people are, you know, praising me for, and going to my mom at work and being like, I saw your daughter on the news and she was in the newspaper last week, and like bringing her little cutouts from the newspaper. And so now they're super, my dad might not know what's going on, but my mom is has come around, that's for sure.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Amy, do you still feel like you struggle a bit with talking about your personal mental health journey?
In some aspects, I mean, it's not really a secret anymore. I think with the gala, that was my own way of coping with my struggles. I was able to put all my energy and my focus into that at the beginning, and I still do that, like for half of a year at a time. But yeah, I mean, there's certain things that I might not open up to everybody about. Everybody has their personal issues that are kind of deeper than what they want on the outside, but I'm very vocal about things now. I think it's very important. And, you know, practice what I preach. I think it's important to end the stigma and have conversations and talk about how you're feeling and not hold everything in. I'm a huge advocate for that.
I agree. And I know on my personal page, I kind of went through my stories and I started sharing quite a bit. And it was only when I don't think you're ever over mental health issues. I think you're always sort of coping and dealing with them. But it was only when I was in a place of more peace that I was able to start talking about it. And I got flooded by people asking me, are you okay? Are you okay? And that almost drove me into a bit of anxiety, because I was thinking to myself, I'm fine. But when I wasn't okay, I never received any of those questions, because I visibly looked okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was only when I started sort of talking about it that people were wondering, and a lot of people were asking questions. A lot of times it wasn't to my face. I would hear it from a third party.
And that's the worst, honestly.
It was. It really was. And it was a lot of, you know, like, what's wrong with her? Why is she coming out and saying all of this?
Mm-hmm.
I just can't understand why we have that mentality in our age group even. You know, if someone's feeling a certain way, why can't they not just sort of say it and be done with it? But instead we back everybody into a corner and expect them to deal with these issues on their own. And it's really unfortunate. I know you mentioned you had some family members that you saw going through it. Did you find that it was sort of brushed under the rug or ignored, maybe ever?
I wouldn't say, I'm trying to think of different scenarios. I mean, maybe personally, my situation was probably brushed under the rug, just because it wasn't as in your face and people didn't know until I said something.
Right.
In some of my family's cases, it was more of like physical things. You couldn't really brush it under the rug. I mean, family, the way that family supports can sometimes seem like it's brushed under the rug, if that makes sense. And like you're trying to help them without like actually saying you have a problem, and kind of making up excuses for your family member, you know, because you want the best for them and you don't want them to actually have that title of what they have. But looking back, that's probably the worst approach you can have, because how are you supposed to get them help if you don't accept it and they don't accept it in return? You know what I mean? So I don't know. There's
Too many different scenarios.
I'm thinking of too many different situations and scenarios right now. Honestly, it has been a huge hurdle, I think, and to where we are today versus where we are even 3 years ago at my first gala. People are talking about it. People are, you know, being more vocal about it on their social media, and it's I want to say it's almost like a common cold now. Like it's okay to have something and to be able to talk about it, like especially in a time like this. If you're feeling perfectly fine locked in your house for months at a time, then you know what's more okay.
Right. Well, it's funny. I had a friend say to me, she goes, when this whole COVID started, I started feeling very anxious, and I've never had that feeling of anxiety before. And she actually apologized to me and said, you know, I'm sorry this is something you deal with on the daily, because I never quite understood what that feeling was. And it's a really unfortunate feeling to have if you don't know how to manage it properly. And I don't think any two people will manage their mental health issues like anybody else. It's a very personal thing, and what works for one person won't work for another, and vice versa.
100%. And it's good that that person came back to you and apologized and, you know, admitted to having something themselves, because it's normal. And it's fine.
Well, and if you think how many conversations you'll have with a friend where, you know, you'll be sort of confiding into them, and they'll brush off your state and just tell you, you know, calm down, or you're doing this to yourself.
Yeah. Those are the worst things, by the way, whoever's watching.
Exactly. Don't do that.
Research what not to say to somebody with a mental health problem.
Exactly.
Those are the worst things you can say, you know. I'm the type of person who needs their space, and I need to calm down on my own. Having somebody on top of me trying to fix me and, you know, what can I do? How can I help? Or even what's wrong with you or whatever. Like, it's the same thing to me. I need to come down on my own. But yeah, at the beginning in 2017, when I started the gala, I had random people that I didn't even know coming out and messaging me like paragraphs and paragraphs of just what they're going through, you know, saying thank you for being our voice. I didn't even know these people. It was the nicest thing. And then people in my own circle that I didn't know had something were coming out. Like it starts the conversation and it gets people talking. And that's the whole point of why I do what I do.
Do you ever have to, when you're getting those messages like that, because I've had to in the past sort of take a step back, like readjust yourself, and then go for it, because it is a lot. It's a lot to be on the receiving end as well. So sometimes I can understand why those responses are happening the way that they're happening, but I think I'm able to understand and empathize with that person as well, because I've sort of studied and did my research on all mental states, and sometimes people view our hardships as a burden on them, and they just can't carry any more weight as well. So not to say anybody with a mental health issue is a burden on somebody else, but I can see how on the receiving end it can be a lot for a person to hear. Did you ever feel that way when you were getting those messages ever? Like, this is too much for me, or?
Not in the honestly not the people that were messaging me, because it was kind of deflecting from my own things. And I felt like I was actually just being an ear for somebody who maybe couldn't talk to somebody else about it. I have had situations where other people, maybe friends or acquaintances, were putting their things on me. It was making me worse. And I didn't realize until I let that toxic relationship go. I didn't realize that it was a weight on my shoulder that was hugely lifted and made me feel almost better. I'm a person who tries to take care of everybody and help everybody. And if somebody's going through something, I want them to come to me. I want to be the one that helps them and talks them through it. And I love doing that. And I do not want anybody to feel like they can't do that, because that is 100% what I love. Like, that's my passion, is talking about this and helping people. But when it becomes a toxic relationship and it's more like, I feel like it's my fault that they're feeling that way, is when the burden starts coming onto me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's not just about it being discussed. I think it also has to be discussed in a manner that remains respectful to all parties. You know, the person opening up, and then again, the person on the receiving end, because we know we're going through something, we're open about talking about it, but somebody else who's receiving this information, like you said, could be going through something similar and is not ready to talk about it or hear about anybody else's. So it's really keeping those lines of respect open.
And if you can't, talk to somebody close to you about it, because that is something, personal, and some people aren't ready to come out with what they have or what they're going through, then, talking to even a stranger or a chat room or EAP if you're with the government, or, you know what I mean? There's so many online avenues. There's like so many, now they're offering, therapy sessions during this COVID thing. You don't even need to go to a doctor and get a doctor's note anymore. There's so many ways that you can gain help, but holding it in is not helping you at all, right? So getting talking, whether it be with your closest friend or a complete stranger, just getting the words out, I think, is super important.
I agree. I think there also has to be a level of self-awareness to know when your mind is wandering to the areas where it shouldn't be, and to know when you're, acting out of being anxious, or you're acting from a place of depression. You need to understand what you're feeling, what you're thinking, in order to be able to communicate properly what type of health you actually need. Amy, I wanted to ask you, and only if you're willing to open up, would you talk about a little bit about what you dealt with?
Sure.
On the spot. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So here we go. Okay. I was once married and divorced, and at a very young age. And after going through that is when everything really started. I mean, I knew I had some issues during, but it all really came to surface when it ended, and not for any reason. Not that I was like sad that the breakup happened or anything like that. It was more, I don't want to say shame. There was just a bunch of titles I felt like were tattooed on my forehead. And that's what really got me to the state of anxiety, to the point where I couldn't breathe at times. I didn't know what was going on. I was like on the floor having panic attacks. Again, didn't know what they were. I couldn't breathe. I went through that for a few years, and it wasn't until it got really bad that my friend was actually like, you need to go see somebody, you need help, you need to go see a doctor. So when I walked into my doctor's office, this is now 2018 was probably my breaking point. That was when I think I hit rock bottom, in my opinion. I walked into a doctor's office, and I was already a disheveled mess. I was bawling my eyes out. And she said, "What is going on? Like, I've never seen you like this." She was my doctor for now 8 years, I think. And I was like, "I've been lying to you since day one." And like, since I walked into this office, I'm like, "I'm not okay." And she's like, "Okay, I could see that." So I kind of told her what was going on, and she gave me a test to do. Like an online, like gave me an iPad with 100 questions, and they were talking about all different stages and what you could have, and just random questions. And there was questions about suicidal thoughts. And there was just every question under the sun about anything you can imagine. And when she took back the tests and got my results, literally went to her computer to figure them out, she came back and told me that I was off the charts. So she needed to, unfortunately, prescribe me medication, which took me a while to take. I wasn't sure if that's what I wanted to do, and that's why I hadn't told her from day one, because I didn't want to be a zombie. I didn't want to be on medication. I didn't think I needed it. I thought I could handle it. But yeah, so I went on medication in 2018 and I got off last summer. So I stayed on it for a year, and whether it made me better or not, I'm not sure, but it was a very, I guess, common drug, and a very, I guess, low dosage. So I didn't feel any effects going on or coming off, but it stopped me from crying every day, and it helped me with that aspect. And yeah, now I'm where I am, and I think I'm doing better. Friends comment, let me know how you think. But I have my days, as does everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, that again, it's normal, and I'm willing to share more or listen, but that's where I'm at right now. So it's been a few months now that I've been off of it.
Well, I just want to start by saying I admire you for sharing that with us, because that's, not that there's anything wrong with sharing that, but I understand the difficulty behind it, and I've had similar struggles of my own. And even to just say, I was married and divorced, and to, like, I could sense the hesitation in your voice as you're saying that, as if it's something wrong with it when there's nothing wrong with it. And I feel like as a society, or put so much pressure on each other to fit this mold, and when people have to come out of that for whatever reason it is, whether or not anyone is shaming you, like you said, you have that in yourself already, because you feel like, I've done something wrong. I had a checklist. What, my checklist is ruined, and now there's uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
Are people judging me? What are people going to say when they see me? What are they going to think? And these are all things that I think go through all of our minds, unfortunately.
And it's crazy, because usually I'm the exact opposite, and I don't care what people think of me. And, I don't try to be fake for anybody. Everyone knows, like, I say it as it is. And, if I don't like you, you'll know I don't like you, to be honest. Or like, we'll figure it out. Let's get in an argument and talk it through. That's how I've always been. But putting a label on something that is going on, and I don't know, that was, I think, the hardest thing. And it's crazy that telling my doctor was harder than opening up to a friend. Do you know what I mean? And
I get that. I get it completely. I mean, it's almost, I feel like you're afraid to tell the doctor, because they're gonna open up their pad and write that prescription. You almost know where you are and what you need in terms of help, but you just you're not ready. Or you need that push in order to get it. It's not easy at all. See somebody saying nothing wrong at all with it, everything happens for a reason, and it's so true. I think that, look where you are. It's so beautiful to be able to see, somebody who has struggled in the past or continues to struggle, whatever it is, to still be so well put together and to still be so accomplished. And wherever the stigma comes from, it's mind-blowing.
It's hard. It's definitely hard. It's challenge, and I don't want it to seem like, yes, I work full time and I do all these things. It's not easy to go to work when you're having a bad day, or you haven't slept all week, or, I've had many breakdowns in my boss's offices. Getting emotional, but it's almost like they all know now, and it's okay. Like, I walk in there and they're like, shut the door and just have your cry session in here in my office. And then if you need to go, everyone's so supportive. It's fine. It's normal. And it's, there's days that I need help and I get the help I need. And there's, days I need a kind of a kick in the butt to keep going. And that's okay too.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm the type of person who needs to stay busy or go to bed. Like, it's one or the other. So that's sometimes my coping mechanism. And it's like, okay, guys, shutting my phone off. Love you all. Good night. Like, I just need to be left alone, and that's okay. Like, if you need your space, you need to go for a walk or a drive, or just chill and turn your social media off or your phone off. like, that's fine.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and I think that a lot of people are afraid, right, to do that because again, that whole question of "Are you okay?"
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I've always feared that question. Like, don't ask me if I'm okay when I am okay, and even if I'm not okay, don't ask me. Don't ask me how I'm doing when I'm not okay because I don't. I don't want to tell you and then have you look at me sideways or have you call me tomorrow with that like pity in your voice, like how are you? Like, no, I don't want those conversations. Just be normal. I'm normal. We're fine. You know,
Yeah.
it's hard for sure.
Some people, you know, will blurt out everything the second somebody says, how was your day? Or how are you feeling today? Or whatever. Sometimes you want to be the person to say, you know, today's not a good day. I need to talk. I've actually had 2 people in the last 24 hours to do that to me. Like, I just need to talk to somebody. No problem. Like, but yeah, the constant, like, how are you today? But what's going on today? Are you sure that you're just okay? Like, what's going, it's like, okay, guys, I'm not, every day is not a bad day, right? Like, it's a
Exactly.
bad day, not a bad life. That quote is a really good one that I live by.
Yeah, I hear you. Amy, how were you when the whole COVID happened? Did you feel like it brought back any anxieties or panic or anything like that? Did you notice anything? I mean, it's a pretty big thing.
Yes. Shockingly, I have been okay. And I was kind of thinking about this earlier and I'm like, I don't know if I'm okay because I'm so used to go, go, go and being the extrovert that I am and always having to do something and be with people. And, you know, I don't know if actually sitting and doing nothing for once in my life is what's calming me and grounding me. But it's kind of nice. um, there are at the beginning, I think I was more stressed for others. So I was stressed, you know, for my friends who are pregnant. I was stressed for my father who is like older, and you know, my mom who works with the public. I was stressed for, you know, it was more for other people, you know, my family that was coming back from being down south. Um, but my own self and living in my health, I knew I was doing what I needed to do to keep it away. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I could do. But my anxiety, again, I've had a couple episodes. Is it daily about this COVID? No, I kind of stopped watching the daily news in 24 hours, having it on the news channel. Although I liked being in the know, there's literally an update every day. So I can't keep track even when I do watch it every day. So just kind of, I don't know, taking a step back from focusing on it 24/7 has been helpful as well.
Yeah, I hear you. I found I had to do the same, and I even had to say in a few like group chats with friends, like, "Hey guys, I can't talk about this
Can't
anymore."
talk about it 24/7. It's so depressing on so many levels, and you know, trying to bring happiness. And with the gala, I was doing some like online Instagram, you know, share the happiness kind of posts, and just trying to get people talking about something else besides COVID.
No, I hear you. I feel like I had a pretty bad, and I've said this before, a really bad panic attack when the whole thing first happened. Probably the worst panic attack I've had in, I want to say, 3 years. I went hysterical, and I don't know if anybody knows that feeling of hysteria. It's a very it's almost outer body, but not in a good way, and you can't grasp reality at all. And it was a very, very rough place to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what a lot of people don't realize was some of the things that is, you know, in the media or even just on social media and the topic. And I've said this before, you almost can't get mad at your friends for not viewing certain things if they know that you're going to be sharing them, or for getting out of group chats if they know what the conversation is, because everybody is dealing with it so differently. And I can't, for myself, I know my limits now, and I know, you know, like I need to end this conversation because I don't want to go back to that feeling of, you know, wanting to jump out of my skin again, because it's awful. It's a really bad place to be.
It is. And I mean, to each their own, and everyone has their own opinions on what's going on. And what we should be doing, and what, you know, if the government is right or wrong. We got to do what they tell us no matter what. So I'm kind of like, everyone can have their own opinions.
Right.
Sharing it as much as people do, is it going to make a difference? Who knows? But do what you got to do to stay sane at this point, and whatever's, you know, going to help you get through it. Thank God the weather is getting nicer. People can actually go outside and, you know, get the vitamin D that they need and stay active, go for walks, bikes, jogs, whatever they have to do just to kind of stay busy and stay active and healthy. And I think that's going to help a lot of people too once the sun starts shining more.
I think so. There's been a lot of really gray days, and it's almost that eerie, you know, feeling of like, oh, we just get some sun. But finally, today was beautiful.
Yeah.
And
this weekend will be gorgeous.
Exactly. And that's all it is. It's just, I think right now, and just at any point in life, you know, finding joy in the little things, whatever it is, one thing you could be grateful for. But again, some days are easier than others. Mm-hmm. And I really value, you know, the work that you have put into the Mental Health Gala to sort of highlight that. And you said when you started out, there was about 100 and some guests. How many have been attending this gala?
So yeah, year one, it was about 130 guests. It was basically just family and friends at that point, because it was whoever I can gather at the last minute. I didn't have sponsors or anything like that. We raised, I think, 12,700. And then the second year went to about 250 people, raised another, I think, 26,000. Last year was my biggest year with 350 people, which was in the high 50s for money raised. I had sponsorship, and it was a huge silent auction. It was the best night ever. So it was a total raised in 3 galas of $98,000 to the Royal. Wow. And then this year, I mean, just in pre-sale, I was at 350-ish people. And that ended in March, the beginning of March. So I was expecting over 400 for sure. Wow. For about 450, I think we're going to be in attendance. Yeah, so it's a shame, mainly not just because it's an amazing night with like a 5-course meal and the DJ and the speakers. We have entertainment usually, just more because of the money raised for the hospital, and this year is when they need it the most. So that's kind of what's been so heartbreaking. But we did do the online auction, and people did donate their ticket money back to the cause. So I gave them that option to either donate it, defer it to next year, or have a refund, because I think during this time that was very important that people can get their money back. And a lot of people donated their ticket money. So this week alone, I raised over $10,000 to donate to the hospital.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So it's not 60,000, but you know, it's almost what I raised in the first year hosting the whole gala. So it's a huge accomplishment, and it's thanks to, you know, my sponsors and my friends and family and their extended friends and family who have been joining us every year. They are the ones that make it what it is. So super excited to share that with the hospital tomorrow.
Yeah, that's amazing. Amy, what do you think will happen in terms of mental health coming out of this?
I do believe it's definitely going to skyrocket, I think, to be honest. You know, I've been watching things and reading all these articles and news clippings that are coming out. It is, you know, people who already had a mental illness, it's surfacing. If they didn't want it to before, it's now surfacing. People who were already out there it's just getting worse. Especially because they're not getting all the help that they might need. People who are in, you know, domestic violence or child abuse homes, that's on the rise right now as well, as sad as that is. I know somebody in the police station who is saying that that's their number one calls right now is domestic abuse, which is horrible and so sad. So I do believe that, I mean, people are going to be talking about it more, hopefully. It'll be more, you know, normal to talk about it. But on the other end, it's going to be hard for a lot of people coming out of this, for sure.
I agree. And I think it's unfortunate. I know I was saying, I like for sure I'm gonna have PTSD after this. Like, there's no way.
Well, we're
I,
gonna remember this for the rest of our lives, you know, like 2020.
sure.
This is what we remember.
Yeah. I
Going in the history books for sure. So
I can't even imagine people who have relatives that have gotten sick by it or have had somebody pass. I think that would make the situation a lot more real once that has happened, and that's even more unfortunate to know that there's people suffering in more in those respects.
yeah,
Um, it's not easy at all, at all.
no, not at all. It's sad seeing, you know, people who have passed in their hundreds now, who didn't even, they lived this beautiful life and they're all over the news, but they didn't even get the proper funeral that they should have gotten, you know, like a beautiful full life, and you can't even celebrate that. It's so heartbreaking and sad. Knock on wood, I haven't had anybody in my immediate circle pass from this, and I'm praying that it stays like this. But you know, you never know what tomorrow brings.
I know it's a pretty wild time. Amy, if you could leave everybody with one thought, what would it be?
Um, Honestly, it's okay to not be okay. As cliche that is for me to say, it's what sticks in my head every time I'm having my anxiety attack or whatever. It's okay. Again, it's a bad day or a bad moment. It's not a bad life.
Yeah.
Yeah, just keep putting one foot forward and we'll get through it. We're all in this together.
I'm with you. I agree with you 100%. I just wanted to say I know there are a number of online mental health first aid courses. I highly recommend everybody, honestly, whether it's you, a family member, whoever it is, to go online and take that short course because I feel like it'll give you the tools of ways to respond to people when they're in a mental health crisis, or even just tools for yourself of how to respond for yourself.
They're so good. Those courses are so good. I did one through work actually, and they're very beneficial. You might think that you know what you need to know to talk somebody down off a ledge. There is some really good tips in those courses.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, I took one oddly enough back in October, and I took it on for myself and just even for clients because as a hairstylist, I hear quite a bit, and I wanted to make sure that I was responding in the right ways. And I realized, I wasn't most of the time, and even in the that people were responding to me, I could understand why I wasn't feeling any better. So it is really important, and I think now more than ever, it would be good for a lot of people to take. I wanted to throw that in there because
what do you have better to do at home? Come on.
Exactly. Go do it.
No, it's so true and it's so important. Honestly, just the way you speak to somebody and the questions that you ask, the words that you use could make or break a person. So yeah, even just in the workplace, like we learned about that as well, how to, like, if somebody kind of throws in a comment or you're kind of concerned in a way you don't want to, bring it up in the words that you want to use to get across without accusing them of something it's really important to take those courses and just to learn the basics.
100%. Thank you so much, Amy. I love that you did this with me. I'm so sad that you had your gala taken from you this year, but next year it's going to be bigger and better, and I can't wait to be there.
100%. Thank you so much for reaching out.
Stay safe.
You too. Bye.
Guys, that was amazing. She's such an accomplished woman. I'm so proud of her. Tomorrow night, I have Ali Mahmoud, and he'll be discussing his basketball career with me. Take care, guys. See you tomorrow. Oh, shit.